factory somewhere in China just produced something. Not something extraordinary. Not something that made headlines. Something ordinary. A button? A circuit board? A pair of shoes? A children's toy? A smartphone component so small it is invisible to the naked eye. And in the next second, it happened again, and again, and again. This is not an exaggeration. This is not national propaganda. This is the single most consequential economic fact of the 21st century. China manufactures approximately 28% of everything the entire world produces. More than the United States, Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom combined. In the time it takes to read this sentence, Chinese factories will have produced goods worth more than most countries generate in an entire working day. The question is not whether China dominates global manufacturing. That question was settled decades ago. The question nobody has fully answered is how and why, and what happens to the rest of the world if it ever stops. To understand China's manufacturing dominance, you have to go back to a moment that most history books in the West do not give enough attention. 1978, Shenzhen, China. A fishing village of approximately 30,000 people sitting on the southern coast of China, just across the border from Hong Kong. Dirt roads, simple homes, no industry, no infrastructure, no reason for the world to pay attention. Then Deng Xiaoping made a decision that would reshape the global economy more completely than any policy in the 20th century. He designated Shenzhen as China's first special economic zone. The idea was radical for a communist country. Within the boundaries of this zone, foreign companies could invest, build factories, and operate under different rules than the rest of China. Lower taxes, fewer restrictions, access to Chinese land and Chinese labor at a fraction of what that labor cost anywhere else on Earth. The world noticed immediately. Within a decade, Shenzhen had transformed from a fishing village into an industrial city of millions. Factories appeared so fast that the city's infrastructure could barely keep up with its own growth. Foreign investment poured in from Hong Kong, from Japan, from Europe, from the United States. Companies that had been paying American or European workers $10, $15, $20 an hour discovered they could pay Chinese workers $1 an hour, sometimes less, for the same output. The logic was irresistible, and the floodgates opened. But cheap labor alone does not explain what China became. If it did, other low-wage countries would have matched it. Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia, India, all of them had cheap labor. None of them became the factory of the world. China did something the others could not. It built scale. Not just large factories, not just many factories. An entire ecosystem of manufacturing, so interconnected, so densely concentrated, and so deeply specialized that it became self-reinforcing in a way nothing else in economic history had ever achieved. Consider what happens when a tech company wants to build a new electronic device in China. Within a radius of a few hundred kilometers in the Pearl River Delta region, they can source the plastic casings, the metal frames, the circuit boards, the batteries, the screens, the screws, the packaging, the shipping boxes, and the labor to assemble all of it from suppliers who have been refining their specific component for decades. No other place on Earth offers that combination. Apple learned this lesson the hard way when it briefly explored moving some iPhone production to the United States. The conclusion reached by Apple's own operations team was stark. The United States did not have enough skilled assembly workers. It did not have the supplier ecosystem. It did not have the speed. A process that takes weeks in China would take years to replicate in America. If it could be replicated at all, Tim Cook said it publicly and without apology. The tools, the skills, and the supply chain that Apple needs exist in China in a concentration that does not exist anywhere else on the planet. That is not a political statement. That is a manufacturing reality built over 40 years of deliberate, strategic, government-directed investment Because here is what separates China from every other manufacturing nation in history. The Chinese government did not simply allow manufacturing to grow, it engineered it. State-owned banks provided loans to factories at interest rates that private companies in other countries could never access. Land was made available to manufacturers at subsidized costs. Infrastructure, roads, ports, railways, power grids, was built at government expense specifically to serve industrial zones. Export policies were designed to make Chinese goods cheaper in foreign markets. Currency management kept the Chinese yuan at levels that made exports more competitive. And then there was education. China produces approximately 5 million STEM graduates every single year. Engineers, scientists, technicians, programmers, trained in universities that have expanded at a pace matching the factories they were built to supply. The pipeline of technical human capital feeding Chinese manufacturing is not an accident. It is a national policy that has been running for decades. When critics in the West argue that China plays unfair, that its subsidies and state support distort global competition, they are not wrong. But they are also missing the larger point. China was not trying to compete on a level playing field. It was trying to build a field so large that no one else could afford to play on it. The consequences for the rest of the world have been profound, complicated, and deeply uncomfortable to discuss honestly. The positive case is real and significant. Chinese manufacturing lowered the cost of almost everything. The smartphone in your pocket would cost 3 times as much if it were assembled in. Today, the world is trying to answer a question it spent 20 years avoiding. What happens when you depend on one country for too much of what you need? The COVID-19 pandemic provided a brutal answer. When Chinese factories slowed or shut down in early 2020, global supply chains did not bend. They broke. Semiconductor shortages shut down car production in Germany. Medical supply shortages left hospitals in the United States and Europe without basic protective equipment. Shipping container imbalances created delays that took 2 years to resolve. Replacing China is not a 5-year project. It is not a 10-year project. Building the supplier ecosystems, the infrastructure, the technical workforce, and the institutional knowledge that China has accumulated over 4 decades takes, at minimum, decades. The world spent 40 years moving its manufacturing into China. It cannot move it out in a single political cycle. China today produces more steel than the rest of the world combined. It manufactures 2/3 of the world's solar panels. It makes 80% of the world's air conditioners. It produces more than half of the world's electric vehicles. It assembles the majority of the world's consumer electronics. Its ports handle more shipping container volume than any other nation on Earth. You did not choose to depend on China, but every product you bought that was made, there was a vote, and the votes were counted.